The blizzard came without warning one moment, clear skies the next, white death wind that cut like knives, snow, that blinded cold, that killed. I was gathering herbs in the forest near the border between our territories. The storm hit, I ran for shelter, found a ruined cabin, abandoned, half collapsed, but better than nothing. I burst inside shaking snow from my cloak. Then I saw him, the Alpha King, Theron Blackwood, my enemy. The man whose soldiers destroyed my village, killed my family, burned everything 6 months ago. He lay on the floor, wounded, bleeding from his side arrow, still embedded in his ribs, unconscious, dying from blood loss, and the cold. I should have left, let him freeze, let him die for what he did to my people. But I am a healer trained to save lives, even enemies, even monsters, even him. I knelt beside him, checked his pulse. Weak, fading fast. The wound was bad, but not fatal if treated. The cold would kill him first, his skin already blue lips, pale body shaking hypothermia, setting in. I knew what I had to do to save him. Body heat shared through the night, holding him close, keeping him warm until the storm passed. I hated him, wanted him dead for what he took from me, but I could not let him freeze, so I pulled him close to the fire. I removed his wet clothes, covered us both with my cloak and blankets from my pack, pressed my body against his sharing warmth, hating every moment, hating him, hating myself for saving the man who destroyed everything. The storm raged outside, inside. I held my enemy and kept him alive, not knowing that by morning everything I believed would change, and he would refuse to let me go. Omega was forced to warm the enemy Alpha during the blizzard. By morning he refused to let her leave because she saved him when she should have let him die. Chapter 1. My name is Alara, 26 years old, Omega Healer survivor. My village was destroyed 6 months ago by soldiers wearing the Blackwood crest. The enemy pack, they came at night, burned houses, killed anyone who resisted, took supplies, weapons, food, left destruction. My parents died in the fire. My brother died defending our home. I survived because I was in the forest, gathering herbs, came back to ashes, to bodies, to nothing. I buried my family, what was left of them. Then I ran to another village, far from the border, started over as a healer, tried to forget to move on to live. But I never forgot the Blackwood crest, the enemy Alpha King who ordered the attack, Theron. Blackwood, I hated him with everything. I had vowed that if I ever saw him, I would make him pay for what he took. Then the blizzard trapped me in a cabin. With him wounded, dying at my mercy, I could have let him freeze, let him bleed out, let him die slowly, painfully as my family did. But I am a healer. My grandmother taught me that all life is sacred. Even enemies, even monsters heal. First, judge later. So I treated his wound, pulled the arrow, cleaned the gash, bandaged his ribs with strips from my dress. Then I faced the cold. He was hypothermic, shaking, blue, dying from the freeze. Only one way to save him: body heat. I removed his wet clothes down to undergarments, covered us with my cloak, blankets from my pack, built a fire with what little wood was dry. Then I pressed my body against his back to front, sharing warmth. It felt wrong holding the man who killed my family, feeling his heartbeat against my chest, his breath against my throat. But I did it because letting him freeze would make me like him, a killer, and I refused to become what I hated. I held my enemy through the night, hating him, saving him, becoming what I swore I would never be, his savior. Chapter 2. Hours passed, the storm raged outside. I held him, felt his body slowly warm against mine. His shaking stopped, his breathing steadied, his heartbeat grew stronger. He was alive because of me. I hated that I saved him. Hated that part of me, felt relief that he lived near midnight. He stirred, woke, confused, disoriented. Where do not move? You are wounded, and still recovering from hypothermia. Who I am, a healer. You found me in the blizzard. Yes, why did you save me? Because I am a healer. That is what we do. Even for enemies. He was quiet. Then you know who I am. Yes, I know. You are Theron Blackwood, Alpha, King of the Northern Pack. My enemy. Yes, and yet you saved me. I did not want to believe me then. Why? Because letting you freeze would make me like you. A killer, and I refuse to become that. I am not a killer. You destroyed my village 6 months ago. Your soldiers burned my home, killed my family. You are a killer. What village? Ashford in the border region. He was silent long. Then I did not order an attack on Ashford. Yes, you did. Your soldiers wore your crest. Impossible. I never ordered any attack on border villages. I gave orders to protect civilians, not harm them. You lie, no. He struggled to sit, winced at the pain from his ribs. I ordered no such attack. If soldiers wearing my crest destroyed your village, they were acting against my orders, against my command. Why would I believe that? Because I stopped a breath, because I am being hunted by my own generals who want me dead, so they can take control of the kingdom. The arrow in my side was shot by one of my own men, not an enemy. My own court betrayed me. He claimed he did not order the attack, that his own men betrayed him. I did not know if I believed him. Chapter 3. I do not believe you. I know it sounds impossible. It is a lie to make me sympathize with you. No, it is the truth. Why would your own men betray you? Because I refused to expand the war to slaughter innocents, to burn villages for resources. My generals wanted total conquest. I wanted peace, so they decided to remove me and continue the war without my interference. That is convenient. It is true. 3 months ago, I discovered evidence of unauthorized raids on border villages. Civilians killed homes, burned all without my knowledge or orders. I confronted my generals. They denied everything. But I knew they were lying, so I started investigating quietly. 2 weeks ago, I found proof orders signed with my forged seal, authorizing the attacks, including the one on Ashford. I confronted General Garrett, privately told him I was going to expose him, and the others execute them for treason the next day, on a hunt. One of my own guards shot me with an arrow, left me for dead in the forest. I managed to escape, was running, when the blizzard hit, found this cabin collapsed from blood loss. And you found me. I stared at him, at the enemy king, who claimed he did not kill my family, that his own men did, using his name. If that is true, then where is the proof? He reached, slowly, carefully, for his discarded cloak, pulled a sealed envelope from an inner pocket, handed it to me. Here letters, orders all forged with my seal, authorizing attacks on border villages, including yours. I took them for evidence to expose the traitors. I opened the envelope, read the documents inside. Orders detailed, specific to attack Ashford, to take supplies, to leave no survivors, who could identify the raiders, all bearing the Blackwood seal, all dated 6 months ago. These could be faked. They are faked, but not by me. By General Garrett and the others who wanted war without my interference. I felt something crack inside my chest. If this is true, then you did not kill my family. No, I did not. Then who did my own generals using my name? My crest, to make it look like I ordered the attacks. So when the war ended, I would be blamed for the atrocities they committed, and you were shot by your own men for trying to stop them. Yes, I looked at him, at the enemy who might not be the enemy at all. Then we are both victims of the same traitors. Yes, we are. He showed me proof that his generals betrayed us both, and I began to doubt everything I believed. Chapter 4. The night grew colder. The fire burned low. I had to hold him again to keep hypothermia from returning. He protested, "You do not have to." "Yes, I do. If I let you freeze, I wasted the effort of saving you. But you hate me." "Yes, I do. But I also hate waste." "Lie down." He lay down, slowly, carefully favoring his wounded side. I lay beside him, pressed my body against his back, shared my warmth again, hating how natural it felt, how safe his presence made me feel, even though he was supposed to be my enemy. We lay in silence, listening to the storm. "Then tell me about your village. What before the attack? Tell me about Ashford." "Why?" "Because I need to know what was destroyed in my name." I was quiet. Then it was small. Maybe 200 people, farmers, hunters, healers. My family ran the healing house. My grandmother taught me everything about herbs, medicine, caring for the sick. My parents helped my brother, trained to be a guard, to protect the village. It was peaceful, safe home, until your soldiers came. My soldiers, but not my orders. I know now what happened to your family. They died in the fire that burned our house. I tried to save them, but I was too late. I am sorry for your loss. Are you? Yes, even though they died because of men who served me. I am still responsible for their actions, their betrayal, their crimes. I should have seen it. Should have stopped them before they destroyed everything. You could not have known I should have. That is my failure as a king, to let corruption grow in my own court, to trust men who were lying to my face about wanting peace when they only wanted power. You are being too hard on yourself. Am I my failure to lead properly got your family killed? How can I be too hard on myself for that? I turned to face him in the darkness. You are not responsible for their betrayal. Yes, I am. I am the king. Everything my people do, good or evil, falls on me. That is the weight of the crown, and I failed to carry it properly. He sounded broken, exhausted, defeated, not like a king, but like a man who carried too much for too long. I reached out without thinking, touched his face. You are not a monster. What I thought you were, the man who killed my family, who ordered the attack on my village. But you are just a man who was betrayed by people he trusted, who tried to stop them, who got shot for trying to do the right thing. That does not make you a monster. It makes you human. I do not feel human. I feel like a failure. You are a king who tried to do right, who stood against corruption. Even though it cost you everything, that is not failure. That is courage. He caught my hand against his face, held it gently. Thank you for seeing me as human when all I see in myself is failure. I held him through the night and began to see not the enemy, but a man who tried and failed and suffered for it. Chapter 5. Near dawn, the storm quieted. The wind died, the snow stopped. I should have been relieved, but instead I felt something like dread, because dawn meant I could leave, could return to my village, to my life away from him. But part of me did not want to leave, did not want to stop holding the man who was supposed to be my enemy, but was becoming something else. He woke as light filtered through cracks in the cabin. The storm stopped. Yes, you can leave. Soon return to your village to safety. Yes, I can. He was quiet then, but you do not want to. I do not know why not, because I stopped, because I spent all night hating you, then understanding you, then seeing you as human, and now I do not know what to feel. I understand that I spent all night expecting you to let me die, then being saved by you, then realizing you are nothing like I expected, and now I do not want you to leave. You cannot mean that I do. Why? Because you are the first person in years who treated me like a human, instead of a king who saw me as just a man who held me when I was dying. Not because you had to, but because you chose to, even though you hated me. That means everything. But I am nobody. Omega healer. Servant, you are the woman who saved my life, who showed me kindness when I deserved none, who saw me as worth saving, when I thought I was worth nothing, that makes you everything. Theron, I do not say. It is impossible. Just let me speak. He sat up slowly, carefully looked at me with eyes that were desperate raw. Vulnerable. I need you to stay. I cannot. Why not? Because you are the enemy king. I am a healer from a village you allegedly did not destroy. We are from different worlds. Then let me make them the same. How marry me? He asked me to marry him at dawn, after one night of forced proximity. I thought he was insane. Chapter 6. You are insane perhaps, but I mean it. You cannot mean it. We just met last night. I know you hate me not anymore. You should hate me. I am the reason your family is dead, even if I did not give the orders. No General Garrett is the reason you just failed to stop him in time. That is not the same as ordering their deaths. But still, I stopped listening to me. I spent all night believing you killed my family, hating you for it, wanting you to suffer. Then you showed me the truth that you were betrayed, that you tried to stop it, that you are a victim too. And I cannot hate you anymore for something you did not do. But that does not mean I will marry you. Why not? Because you are a king. I am a healer. Because you need an alliance marriage. Not a wife who despised you. Hours ago, I do not need an alliance. I need you. Why? Why do you need me? Because he reached for my hand. Because you held me through the night, when you could have let me die. You saved me, when every reason told you to let me freeze. You saw me as human when everyone sees the crown. You made me feel safe for the first time in months since I learned my own men were betraying me. That is not love, that is gratitude. Is it? Or is it the beginning of something that could become love if you gave it a chance? I do not know. Then stay with me. Let me show you what we could be. Let me prove to you that I am worth more than your hatred. I cannot. Why not? Because I am afraid of what of caring for you and losing you to the same traitors who took my family, who shot you, who want you dead. I cannot survive losing someone else I love. Then he pulled me close. Then let me protect you, instead of you protecting me. Let me be the one who keeps you safe, who fights for you, who refuses to let the traitors win. You do not even know me. I know enough. I know you are brave, kind, strong, everything I need, everything I want, everything I will fight for. Itheron, say you will stay. Say you will let me prove I am worth the risk. I looked at him, at the Alpha King who was supposed to be my enemy, who became something else in one night. I will stay for now, but I make no promises beyond that. That is enough for me for now. I agreed to stay, not forever, just for now, to see what we could become. Chapter 7. We stayed in the cabin 2 more days, while his wound healed enough to travel, while we planned how to expose the traitors, how to survive what came next. We talked about everything, our lives, our losses, our hopes, our fears. I learned he was lonely, had been king since 18 when his father died, carried the weight of the kingdom alone for 10 years, trusted the wrong people, because he was desperate for allies, for friends, for someone who saw him as Theron, not the crown he learned. I was exhausted from surviving, from rebuilding, after my village burned, from carrying grief that never quite faded from being invisible. As a healer, Omega. We were both so tired of fighting alone. On the 3rd day, we left the cabin, headed to his loyal supporters in a nearby city, where we could plan the exposure of the traitors, where he could reclaim his throne from men who stole it as we walked through the snow. He took my hand. Thank you for what? For staying, for giving me a chance, for seeing me as more than the enemy. You are welcome. I am glad I stayed. Are you? Yes, because I stopped. Because what? Because I think I am falling in love with you already. Yes, how I do not know, it has only been 3 days. I know, but you made me feel safe, seen, valued, for the first time since my family died. That makes me want to stay forever. Then stay forever. Marry me when this is over. When the traitors are exposed. When the war ends. Marry me and let me spend every day proving I am worth the risk. I looked at him, at the Alpha King, who was no longer my enemy, but something else, something more. Yes, I will marry you when this is over. He stopped, turned, pulled me close, kissed me, desperate, grateful, certain, and I kissed him back, the man who was supposed to be my enemy, who became my savior, my love, my everything. In 3 days of forced proximity and shared truth, we left the cabin together, planning to expose the traitors, to end the war, to build a life together. Chapter 8. We reached the city, found his loyal General Marcus, who helped us plan the exposure of the traitors. It took 2 weeks to gather evidence, witnesses, proof of everything. General Garrett and his conspirators did the attacks on villages, the forged orders, the attempted assassination of the king, everything. Then we struck publicly in the throne room. General Garrett was summoned, thinking the king was dead, that he had won. Instead, Theron walked in alive, with me beside him, with Marcus and loyal guards, with evidence of everything. Garrett paled. Your Majesty, you are alive. Disappointed, Your Majesty. I am relieved, are you? Because your arrow in my side suggests otherwise. I do not know what you mean. No, he stepped forward. Here is what I mean. You forged orders with my seal, authorizing attacks on border villages, including Ashford. You killed innocents in my name to make me look like a tyrant, so when I refused to expand the war, you could remove me and continue the conquest, without interference. That is a lie? Your Majesty, I is it. I have letters, witnesses, guards who saw you give the orders, who participated in the raids, who are willing to testify against you in exchange for leniency. You cannot prove I can, and I will. Guards arrest General Garrett and all his co-conspirators, for treason, for murder, for crimes against the kingdom. Garrett screamed, struggled, was dragged away. The court stood silent, shocked. The king turned to them. Let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can betray this kingdom, who thinks they can kill innocents in my name, who thinks they can remove me from the throne. I survived, I returned, and I will not tolerate corruption in my court ever again. The court knelt in loyalty, in fear, in respect. He turned to me, smiled, held out his hand. Come, let me introduce you properly. This is Alara Omega Healer, the woman who saved my life in a blizzard, who showed me kindness when I deserved none, who will be my wife, my queen, my partner in rebuilding this kingdom into something better than what it was. The court murmured, surprised but accepting, because the king had returned victorious, and no one dared question him. We married 1 month later, small ceremony with loyal supporters and survivors from Ashford, who I brought to witness justice for their losses. The war ended. The traitors were executed. The kingdom began to heal, and we built a life from one night in a blizzard, where hatred became understanding, became love. We exposed the traitors, ended the war, married, and built a kingdom from one night of forced proximity. Epilogue. 3 years later. We stood in the rebuilt village of Ashford, where my family died, where everything changed. The villagers had returned, built new homes, new lives with support from the crown, from Theron, who personally apologized to each survivor for what happened. In his name, one villager approached Your Majesty. Your Grace, thank you for everything you have done for us. It is the least we can do, Theron said, after everything that was taken from you. In my name, we will continue to support your rebuilding for as long as you need. The villager bowed. We are grateful after they left. Theron turned to me. Do you ever regret it? What saving me that night in the blizzard? I looked at him, at the man who was supposed to be my enemy, who became my husband, my partner, my love. No, I do not regret it, even though you hated me, even though I hated you at first, but holding you through that night, learning the truth about what happened, about who you really were, that changed everything. You changed everything for me too. How you made me feel human instead of just the crown. You saw me as worth saving when I thought I was worth nothing. You stayed when you could have left. You loved me when I gave you every reason to hate me. That saved me more than, I am glad. The blizzard trapped us together, me too. Even though it started with hatred, it ended with love. Our daughter ran to us. Mama, Papa, the new healing house is ready. Can we go see? Of course, little one. We walked to the new healing house that I designed to honor my family. My grandmother who taught me that all life is sacred. Even enemies, we stood inside where healers would work, where lives would be saved, where my family's legacy would continue. Theron pulled me close. This is beautiful, Alara. Your family would be proud, I hope so. I know so. You took the greatest tragedy of your life and turned it into something beautiful, something that will save lives. That is exactly what they would want. I leaned against him. Thank you, for what? For refusing to let me leave that morning after the blizzard, for seeing me as worth keeping, for loving me when I was nobody. You were never nobody. You were the woman who saved my life, who gave me hope when I had none, who became everything to me in one night of being forced to hold me through a storm. We walked back to the palace, hand in hand. King and queen built from enemies, from a blizzard, from forced proximity that became choice, that became love, that became everything. Omega was forced to warm the enemy Alpha during the blizzard by morning. He refused to let her leave. 3 years later, they ruled together, built a kingdom from hatred that became love, from enemies who became everything, all because one night, a storm forced them together and they chose to stay.